This is Envision Self-Healing Podcast, episode number 28. Hi, I'm Will Fuller.
And I'm Richard Miller.
And we are the co-creators of EnvisionSelfHealing.com and are dedicated in helping you improve your eyesight and quality of life
by taking healing into your own hands. The topic of the week this week is deciding to go organic. And the question of the week comes from a law student who is desperately seeking some help on dry eyes.
So, Richard, how's the world of self-healing been treating you this week?
Well, this week was a bit of a banner week in that I started up my Norwalk juicer.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that last week.
It sat around... I guess I took it out of the box immediately, but it just sat there for about a week.
You didn't juice the box, did you?
No. That would have gotten rid of the box anyway. It might not have made very good juice. So sat there in a box, and then I had a friend who needed juice desperately, so I went into action on this week, Tuesday, I guess it was. Mm-hmm. And I spent 6 hours making...
one glass of carrot juice.
It was 12 glasses of carrot. Ooh. No, it was 12 glasses. So I made 4 glasses of orange juice, 4 glasses of carrot apple juice, and 4 glasses of Swiss chard apple juice.
Right, with more Swiss chard than apple juice.
Yeah, that was. I almost made her vomit with this with the green juice because I didn't use... Well, see, I'm basically following the Gerson protocol, which you discovered and then passed on to me. Mm-hmm. And the Norwalk juicer is designed for the Gerson therapy, which is mainly an anti-cancer therapy, but I guess it treats other conditions as well.
Yeah.
And they're very specific about the apples, I discovered. They want you to use Granny Smith or a tart green apple.
Okay.
And I discovered this after I came back from Whole Foods at 8 in the morning with my apples.
Right.
And I had lots of red apples. So I skimped on the green apples because I only had 4 of them. And ergo, I got green juice that was hard to stomach. Because the apples really do make it taste better.
Yeah.
But I spent 6 hours because... it's a complicated... I keep saying it's kind of like learning to play the cello or something. It's not that bad, but it's a learned skill.
It doesn't sound as good.
No.
Mind you, it depends who's playing, I suppose.
It's true. Well, and I succeeded in... there was a period... Yeah, the first thing I did was spray Swiss chard all over my wall.
Yeah, your brand new painted walls.
Brand new painted wall. At least I used semi-gloss in the kitchen, so it did come off easily.
At least you didn't get them on your new doorknobs.
It's true.
That would have been a crime.
It would be. So first I started out by spraying Swiss chard on my ceiling.
All right.
And then...
you should have recorded it and just recorded it as a comedy show and just sold it.
Yeah. Well, I was up at 6 or something getting ready to do this. I was really going into action. And I went down at 8 to Whole Foods to get the vegetables after planning it out. And then I had to go buy mason jars at the local hardware store.
Now, is this all included in the 6 hours?
It is.
Okay, so you didn't do 6 hours of juicing?
No.
Because people here are thinking, I'm definitely never buying that machine because it took 6 hours to
6
juice.
hours, I guess I got up. I finished at 2 in the afternoon.
Okay.
I did get up at 6, so I guess at 8 o'clock I was headed down to Whole Foods and bought the carrots and the greens and the apples, the wrong apples, of course.
Yeah.
Came back. I guess I took a shower in there, so I'm reducing the 6 hours a little bit now.
All of a sudden.
It's going down. Maybe it was only 4 or 5. So then sprayed the Swiss chard on the ceiling.
Yeah, spend an hour cleaning the ceiling.
No, I left it, of course. So I'm doing the Swiss chard, struggling, because I'm used to a centrifugal juicer, which is very, very fast and powerful. And this thing is... I bought this Norwalk because it is somewhat powerful still.
Yeah.
But you still have to be patient.
Yeah.
Ergo, the Swiss chard on the ceiling. If you're impatient, it's...
I wonder if it was just a woman that invented this. Maybe the Gerson therapy is just trying to train men to understand women a little bit more.
It did feel like a difficult woman, actually.
And just be a little bit more patient.
Well, ironically, I was making juice for a difficult woman, too. So.
But the idea is that by the end of it, you get a better result if you're patient. And
true.
Maybe you could take your new walk out to the ballet, a nice meal,
Yeah, maybe it would cooperate better if I gave it a good meal.
Yeah.
and took it to the ballet. It's heavy, though. I guess it's like over 50 pounds. I don't know if I want to carry it around.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got green juice now on the ceiling. Or I guess it's green pulp, really, on the ceiling and the wall. My walls are green, fortunately.
Right.
So so I do that, and then that takes another hour or something to do the greens. Mm-hmm. I picked the hardest thing to do first, actually, to get them in there and go slow enough that it didn't bind and all of this. And the key of the Norwalk is you don't want... The reason you spend so much on it is that it doesn't heat up your pulp or your juice in the process of making it. Mm-hmm. And here I am trying to force Swiss chard down there, and what's it doing? It's heating up by doing that. So I learned this, and I could feel the metal heating up. Right. So I knew I was not doing the right thing at that point.
Plus, you did juice continuously for maybe 4 hours, right? So you were continuously running the motor. So I'm sure
maybe that's
normally
true.
When you do it from cold, it's not going to heat up as much.
Right. Now, the couple of times since I've done it, it hasn't heated up this way. It was trying to put too much in and force it through. That was really the thing. And so then I went on to carrot juice. So I had the green juice done. Went on to carrot juice. This is classic me and male behavior. Yeah. So I'm like, I put the carrots in, and I'm like, man, I'm getting good at this. Yeah. And I'm putting the carrots in, and then she texts, and I text back saying, I've got it down. Getting really good. And of course, as soon as I go back to the machine, I spray carrots on the ceiling now. And I took out it has a little fail safe on it. I took out the juicing grid that it has in there. And it stopped. I didn't realize there was this fail-safe. Right. So I'm like, just texted that I really got it down, and I've broken the machine. It was classic. So, 4 hours after starting juicing, I've got 12 little vials of... They're in the mason jars, 8-ounce mason jars. Okay. And they tell you to juice, fill it up all the way to the top of the jar, and screw it on tight. Okay. So you're getting as little air as possible. Makes sense. Into the juice, which is you don't want oxidation.
Good. Well, and we just did one now.
Yeah, we did.
And it must have taken, I don't know, we were messing around with it for a bit, and he was showing me, I reckon you could probably get it down to 20 minutes, 25
minutes to half an hour.
And
maybe.
we did 2 glasses. It was a good 8 carrots and 3 or 4 apples, so that was a decent amount of food there. And I must say, I was a little bit skeptical when I saw how much of an effort this thing was. And I know that with anything, right, the longer you spend doing it, it just becomes habit, and you know what you're doing, and it just becomes a lot easier. But I must definitely say that I could definitely taste a difference. In that juice, and it was like a thicker, creamier juice, this fresh juice. Even with my new juicer, the one that I got, the masticating one, I couldn't tell an immediate difference between that and the centrifugal, right? The one with the blade that spins around. Whereas this one, I really could taste the difference.
All right, we're going to have to put them side by side. And do a juice off with some apples, and some carrots.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Maybe it's just in your mind because you're telling yourself, you're doing all this effort, this better tastes good.
Exactly.
But I feel I was very impartial there, and it did taste.
You didn't think it did?
It tastes really
that would
nice.
Make me feel way better.
So I'd be interested to see in a week's time, when you've been doing it every day, several times a day, or even 10 times a day that you should be doing. I suppose you could do it 5 times a day and just do 2 lots every time. Yeah. And like anything, it's just they give you the rules, just like with the eye exercises. This is what you do, and then you go away, you play with it yourself, you maybe adapt it a little bit, maybe you cut corners somewhere, this, that, and the other, and you just adapt it to the best way for you, I guess.
Well, and you made a point earlier today too that you really need to make the juice taste really good, or you're not going to want to go through the effort of juicing. So you want to take the effort to make it taste good enough, so you're not just it doesn't feel so medicinal. Yeah. So
just drinking because you have to.
Yeah. So that was the highlight of my week, anyway. So how was your week?
Yeah, good. I've been pretty busy, more so this week than others. I moved this weekend, so I felt the pain that you've been going through the last few weeks, and it worked out quite well. There was a couple of us there, and we got everything packed up and spent 2 hours carrying stuff down 2-3 flights of stairs.
Oh, that's right.
Spiral.
Right.
I mean, they're not, spiral stairs.
Yeah.
Loading it up into the van that we rented, and then driving it all the way over to the new house.
Yeah.
And then we couldn't fit everyone that helped pack beforehand, so spent like another 2 hours unloading everything up 3 flights of stairs this time, all the way up into the new apartment, and it was just me and 2 other guys, and we needed to do it quick because we needed to go pick up the other people, plus we had to get the rent truck back on time. It was non-stop loading and unloading, you know, shelves and books and these big boxes. I think for about 4 hours straight.
Wow.
And by the end of it, I was just exhausted. By the time we'd started at maybe 8 o'clock in the morning, by the time 2 o'clock rolled around, and we had, you know, of course you skip lunch and all the rest of it, and I'm pretty exhausted. I certainly noticed on that day, I was quite anxious about it.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have insurance on the van, and
of course, yeah.
You know, we wanted to make sure that we moved in all right and all the rest of it. I certainly noticed vision-wise quite a poor. My vision was pretty poor on the day, and I was bumping into things. My peripheral vision really wasn't that great, and you know, there was like a parking sign pole just outside where the truck was, and of course I'm now very familiar with that pole because I must have walked into it several times. And I could tell, you know, part of it was just my mental state. You know, I was just rushing, just wanting to get things done, and, you know, didn't stop at all, even for a break. And even when someone stopped me to try and have a conversation, I just wanted to get done, get some lunch.
I know you when you're in that focused mood. Yeah.
So, but I really sort of noticed that with my periphery, and I noticed all this week actually as a sort of a surprise after the last 3 weeks where I had such a big breakthrough.
Right.
That I realised these last few days, sort of finished packing out the last few boxes now, it's starting to feel like a home. Mm-hmm. You know, I can start getting back to work a little bit more. That was it yesterday, I was tuning into my periphery a little bit more, and I was like, oh, this kitchen is actually bigger than I first thought, and, you know, now I can actually walk with my... And it's sort of... I realised that for a whole week, I just completely switched off.
Right.
Pretty much from my periphery.
Right.
And the new, and as I look back now, from time to time, I did think, oh, I can see that in my periphery, or I can see that, that must have been those improvements I had last week, and then changed back to what I was trying to do to get stuff done. So it was fascinating that still, even after that breakthrough, that in that week I managed to switch off from it and just be so focused centrally, which makes sense, right? Just like you said. I know what you're like when you're in that focus mode.
Yeah.
Well,
I almost said that tunnel vision mode.
Yeah.
Sort of slightly rude to say.
You know, that's it. I'm centrally focused.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get what's done in front of me.
Yeah.
And it means that my periphery suffers as a result.
Yeah.
And I also noticed that sort of fuzzier vision, the floaters weren't so great. So really, I mean, it's just a combination of, I didn't have a chance to do my normal diet, just like I did when I was on holiday, you know.
Right.
And when I came back and I was juicing regularly and eating healthy again, and get a chance to catch up on sleep, and, you know, the vision starts coming back again. So it's fascinating, especially now after such a big improvement. So I'm looking forward to now finally this week getting back to the regular eye exercises and eating well again, and just being able to spend time thinking about my periphery, and just sort of getting back into some sort of a routine. So it should be good this week. I look forward to commenting back this week. I think the highlight, though, for me this week was an email that I got on a blog that I did on retinitis pigmentosa.
Right.
And it's nice because real busy week. I've not really had too much time to spend with my emails and responding to people and all the rest of it. So it was nice to wake up the other morning and just to see a comment on one of the videos that says, "Thanks for this. I was in a great depression before, but now got a relief. Thanks again." So it's just, it's nice to think that even though we're busy and, we feel like we're not necessarily
doing something
reaching anyone. Especially when, you have to cut back on clients because you're busy doing all the rest of it. But it's just nice to know that we're busy doing our own thing. We're still sort of helping people out there, and
that's the advantage of the website.
Yeah, and especially with things like RP, because we're just not told that anything can be done to help, and you're sort of just set to a life of misery, really. Mm-hmm. So it's always nice to hear back from people that they've got a bit of hope in there, and that they're going to try doing the exercises and see what comes out of it.
Yeah, very good.
So it's a good time to move on to topic of the week.
And the topic of the week this week is deciding to go organic.
Now, this is a topic that particularly before I moved to San Francisco that I was very, I wouldn't say much against. But I didn't really see why you would go organic.
Right.
Especially when it's twice as expensive as everything else, and it just makes no sense to me. And I thought maybe just the people that were selling organic food were just trying to jump on board, some sort of a niche, and they're just making the best out of a situation where they can charge you extra money. Or maybe it's just something that, people, they're earning a good bit of money, they got a good job going. Why spend money on this kind of food when you could buy organic food? Just the same as you eat at more expensive restaurants, some people, than they eat at the less expensive restaurants. So it was really something that I knew very little about. I'd heard the terms, pesticides and whatnot, but I also felt that, if the farmers are up against it, so they should use these pesticides. What's wrong with that? It means that we're getting more vegetables, and that they're a cheaper price, and all the rest of it.
Right. We're saving the world from hunger, that sort of thing. Yeah.
So, but since coming here to San Francisco, obviously in California, it's very pro-organic, and it's all about farmers and all the rest of it. And they do a really good job here of trying to educate the general public on why organic food is better. And it's sort of in between all the search for health and improve our eyes and all the rest of it. I found that you really can't avoid this subject if you're looking at good health. Right. And it's forced us to spend time, watching documentaries, reading about it, doing research into organic food versus non-organic food. And is it really worth, the time and money that the organic food costs for the benefits?
Right. And I think the prevailing opinion is what you described, that maybe it could be better, but probably not, and it's not worth my money. I think that's the prevailing opinion.
So I think I would like to start the topic with the biggest thing that only hit me in the last month or so when researching this that I never knew before, but that with organic food you actually have a higher nutrition level.
Right.
From the organic food, and the main part of that is because of the soil.
Right.
It's organic soil. There's no chemicals in it. It's gone through the natural processes in order to get all the minerals and everything that it needs. And I mean, just the same as we get our nutrients from food, plants get their nutrients from the soil.
I just realized it's very parallel to the other part of our world, which is healing yourself. If you think about it, it's very similar. They're healing the chemical agribusiness is healing the soil to a certain degree through chemicals and intervention, whereas organic soil is being rebuilt from its use through a natural way, through natural fertilization and rotation of crops, things like that, and not using chemicals to boost it, basically. It's very similar.
And it's almost like the scientists have come along, not even necessarily agriculturalists. Scientists have come along and said, well, you need X, Y, and Z to make a plant, so let's put that in the soil. This is what it needs.
Yeah.
I think it was something like in organic soil, there's something like 50 nutrients, whereas in non-organic or treated, it's something like 4. Right. That they've just highlighted and they put in the soil to grow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what amazed me is if you then think about it, that's the nutrients that's going into the plant. So the plant has less nutrients. We then eat those plants and we have less nutrients in our body. So even before, where being a physical education teacher and teaching health and saying, come on kids, get get your 5 to 7 greens and vegetables a day. The thought that very few people even get that, even that's a big push. To think that when people are getting those, they're less nutritional value anyway. I mean, it's crazy. So no wonder we're in this situation of illness and obesity and all these difficulties when we're just being starved of nutrients and minerals.
Well, and then you're tired, you don't know why you don't have energy, whatever, and then you grab for the junk food to give you the quick, or the caffeine to give you the quick up feeling. And in really, you're just sort of starved for nutrition. So
and then your body has to fight. The immune system, everything's trying to fight all these high sugar levels and all the chemicals and all the rest of it in that fast food in itself. It's like a vicious cycle. But the reason why I thought it was good to start with that instead of talking about the usual pesticides is, I mean, that pretty much did it for me. And I learned that just before I went back to the UK. And obviously seeing my niece and nephew, a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I just thought, these kids aren't getting the same nutrition that people used to get. Not even that long ago, 50 years ago.
Right.
And it sort of amazes me, really. I mean, agriculture has been around for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, in the last 50 years, just the same as sunglasses and prescription glasses, all of a sudden we've decided as a society that the last couple of 1,000 years have been wrong.
Doesn't matter,
And they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
But we do.
Right.
Because we've got better science.
Yeah.
And so let's just make our own plants ourselves.
Right.
And it's, I don't know, I mean, that was enough to scare me.
Right.
And also the thing that I'm working so hard to get this nutrients in my body so I can heal myself. The thought of cheating myself of that. And I guess that was also part of the reason why I went out and spent the extra money on a new juicer.
Right.
Was because even though, I was juicing, I wasn't getting as much nutrients as I could. Not that I'm not getting any nutrients.
Right.
But I'm sort of cheating myself almost.
Right.
So to then think that I'm also spending this extra money on organic, then it makes sense to try and get the most out of that food as well. So, and I guess it's just sort of a decision you have to make, really.
Right. Well, the other reason that I have been eating organic for a long time actually is the taste. If the fact that you're getting more nutrition doesn't convince you, maybe your taste buds will. Because for me, I can taste the difference between an organic, especially in vegetables. Yeah. It's actually true in meats too. I mean, if you eat organic meats, they taste very different than the sort of regularly processed meats. So you get more nutrition and more taste. And I was thinking about when you were talking about this, the time issue too. If you're going to spend time, how much time do we spend preparing our foods for eating? If you're going to spend that time, maybe it's probably like a quarter of our day we spend, dealing with food.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather be getting the most out of that time? So that's another issue. You're spending your time. You might as well get the most out of it.
And I think that a prime example for me was I always used to get the non-organic strawberries because, I mean, they're just so... I mean, even the non-organic strawberries were like maybe $6
right.
Anyway. So, and I know at the farmer's market it was something like half a box for $10 or something. I just thought, I'm not going to spend $10 on strawberry. That's crazy. That's just way out of my budget. And then I went there and one time I thought, you know what, let's just get them. It's organic. I know berries are part of the dirty dozen, which we should probably explain in a minute. So it's best to get organic berries, anything really, because they're one of the worst offenders for pesticides. And wow, just a complete difference in taste.
Right.
So, sweeter, stronger flavor.
Right.
And that was it for me. I could never go and get non-organic strawberries.
Once you go organic, you can't go something like that. I have to come up with a phrase there.
So obviously we've also got the standard argument, the pesticides, which I saw a documentary the other day, and you've just got these big fields of this. Whenever I see greens now and fruit, I just automatically want to just go and eat it there and then. It's just so bright and green and so I'm watching this documentary. I thought, oh, look at all those fruits and vegetables. And then there was just this big truck went by and just sprayed all these chemicals just on all the food.
Oh, no.
And I was like, that's not actually that appetizing anymore.
I actually got crop dusted when I was a child, riding a bicycle. I was riding through the fields, like getting my exercise, and this plane drops pesticides on my head.
That explains a lot. Actually.
It does, actually, yeah.
So is that why you don't have any fungus?
That's right.
So so that was a big shock for me when I first started looking into, in particular, the raw diet, because obviously it's important to have the organic stuff when you're eating raw, because you're not preparing it. And in fact, I remember one argument somebody put to not eat raw was because when you cook food, you get rid of some of the pesticides.
Oh, nice.
And I thought, what? Instead of arguing that we shouldn't be putting pesticides on food because it could harm you, don't eat raw because it's bad for you because of the pesticides. Anyway, and I was watching this this chef cooking up some stuff, and he was with this woman. They were talking about organic, and she said, "Would you ever prepare food, have it all nice and ready, spend an hour, beautiful salad, all the rest of it? You're just about to give it to your kids, and before you hand it over to them to eat, you sprinkle some chemicals on top."
Jeez. That's pretty bad.
And that's exactly what we're doing, right? And you could say, well, we're washing it off, but there's hundreds of studies out there now that show that you don't get rid of all the pesticide. And yes, some government agency has said it's fine.
Yes,
you can eat X amount of pesticides.
Right.
I mean, it's just crazy. Like whoever think you could eat a safe amount of chemicals.
Right.
Like, why would we ever want to do that? And there is something called the Dirty Dozen, which I will quickly explain because I didn't know about this. That for those of you that can't necessarily go completely organic, there is a list called the Dirty Dozen, and it's the studies that I was talking about. They identified the 12 worst fruits and vegetables that when they were washed and prepared, ready to eat, they tested the amount of pesticides that was left over.
All right.
So there's this list of 12 foods. Just go onto Google or whatever and just have a look. And you'll find there that the list of the worst ones. So that for these particular ones, maybe you just make that little bit of extra effort, and you do buy those organic because you know they are the worst offenders.
Good idea.
So another thing with organic, and I guess this could also be organic and also non-organic, but it's making sure that you eat the food as soon as possible. Right. And obviously part of the reason of spraying it with all these chemicals and adding all this stuff is to make it last longer on the shelves, and so you can transport it further, so it lasts longer. But the longer the food is out of the ground, the less nutritional value there is.
Even with organic food, yeah. So so I guess we're saying the extra step is then go organic and then try and get it eaten as quickly as possible.
Yeah, we don't mean just eat it really quick.
Yeah, right. All the way back to the grocery store.
And I guess what this comes down to really is trying to eat as locally as possible. And we're very, very lucky here in San Francisco because we've got maybe 5 or 6 farmers markets where local farmers from all around California travel to us, and then we can go and get this beautiful fresh produce straight from the farmer themselves. And of course the price really isn't that bad. I mean, it's a bit more expensive.
And one of the things we'll discover, he told me, is because I go to my local's farmer's market, and as I've said before, I live in Google land. Everyone around me works for Google for high salaries.
Google it.
Google that. Google land. And so my farmer's market is higher priced than Will's farmer's market because he lives in the people who are thrifty neighborhood. Oh, you did? I'm not sure about your new neighborhood.
I know. Well, we're still going to travel to the
old neighborhood.
Area.
Well, that's what I would suggest people do if they really are conscious, is go, okay, this farmer's market is where people want to be thrifty, so I'm going to go there. Yeah. And the prices will be lower.
You can take the thrifty man out of the thrifty area, but you can't take the thrift. Oh, I don't know what it is. But yeah, it'd be interesting if you would have a look around. I know some people, like back home where I live in Kent in England, is that I said, I always talk because I go to the farmer's market every week, as we both do. And whenever I speak to my parents, they're like, "Oh, so you're off to the farmer's market?" And they say, "Well, we don't have anything like that." Right. I was like, well, you must do. You live in Kent. It's sort of agricultural area.
Oh, yeah.
So, of course, after maybe, 2 years of talking about the farmer's market, last week I get an email going, we just came back from the farmer's market.
It's probably like around the block or
Yeah.
something, you know?
Yeah, and do you know what? Even if you don't have a farmer's market, at least maybe ring around some of the farmers, you know, anyone that you can get in contact that you know produce fresh or that grow their own food, even if it's like those allotments that you get where people grow their own food. And I know people sometimes sell that stuff off.
Right. Yeah, and then the last thing I discovered this week is a solution for people who live not in Kent, but somewhere really remote that they really don't have organic foods around. And it's a business called the Green Polka Dot Box. Started only in the last couple of years, actually. And it really was intended, I think, for people who didn't have access to organic foods the way we do.
Okay.
And what they do is they have a warehouse. They negotiate with farmers to get good prices on. It's all organic stuff. Mm-hmm. And they ship this box to you weekly or biweekly, or whatever you want, full of organic fruits and vegetables. I have yet to get my first box. I'm going to make my order today.
Excellent.
And for me, it saves me the bus, you know, walking up the hill from the Whole Foods. And it's in theory, it's cheaper as well than the Whole Foods.
And it's not just there's other companies, right? There's quite a few companies. I think, unfortunately, I know a few friends that do this. Not necessarily the Green Polka Dot box, but other places that I think the farmers sort of sell off the stuff a year in advance or whatever.
Mm-hmm. It's like you buy shares in their crop, essentially.
Yeah. So there's certainly different options that you can do, and they send it to you.
Right.
A good argument that I saw yesterday actually was about the fossil fuels. It was something like you burn. I think the food industry uses up the same amount of fossil fuel as does the transportation industry.
Wow.
And so, because if you think once they've produced it, they've then got to ship it from, you know, Mexico and China, you know, all these places are. And if you think how much oil that's using up, and then on top of that, we're saying that the longer it goes without being eaten. And I asked at my farmer's market, I said, "Oh, when do you pick this?" She said, "Yesterday."
Yeah.
So you really do get it, you know, fresh and straight away. And of course, I guess the last argument is, well, price, and this is what it all comes down to. And what frustrates me a little bit, and I'm not too sure about England, but I know in America they subsidize the food here, certainly all the pesticide food and the GMO stuff, so that it's cheaper for everyone. I think it's even cheaper. I think America sells a lot of its corn to Mexico because it's cheaper. They get it cheaper than if they grew it there themselves.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
So obviously that's a push down price. Now, I think if we did a vote, if we did a global vote, or even just here in the States, we just did a national vote and said, what would we rather subsidize? What would we rather cheaper? Pesticide, GMO food, or should we give that money to our local farmers so that we can all afford organic more?
Yeah.
And I think everybody would choose organic. If anybody had a choice between organic and non-organic, everyone would go organic every time. I can't see why there'd be any benefits to non-organic food.
Right.
And I guess it just comes down to a conscious decision of all the pros that we've just listed. You know, is it worth that extra little bit of money? I know one person once said that the money that you're going to save on health bills in the future from eating, you know, fresh fruits and vegetables organically grown every day, then, you know, in the long run, you're going to save a lot more money.
Wow, now in our field, maybe they're saving their, eye surgeries or and just saving their vision in general in the long term. So,
but saying that, yesterday, you know, I went to a local grocery store and I went to see the price of red bell peppers or capsicums, as you say in Australia, and it was $4.99 a pound.
Right.
And I just said, "Where's the I just take me to the non-organic aisle." Like I'm not going to spend $5.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. And I don't understand why it needs to be that expensive when at the local farmers market it's $2 for a pound. So there's something going on there still.
Yeah.
And certainly in some of the bigger supermarkets, some organic foods are cheaper than others. I can get strawberries for $3, but then a couple of oranges is $6. So I guess you sort of got to pick your battles, really.
Right.
And what we're saying is just those foods that you can start working. Have a look at the organic aisle next time you're in the supermarket, and you might be surprised that some of the food isn't that much more expensive. For example, bananas were 79 cents. For non-organic, and organic was 89 cents.
Oh, yeah.
So
they're really full of pesticides in general too. So yeah.
So for 10 cents in the difference, I could get the organic food, and I know the bigger supermarkets say, well, if people buy organic, then we're going to start selling more organic, and of course the price will go down, and so on and so forth. So it's difficult when you learn about all this and you say, well, what can we do? When you look at it at a big corporate level, and the overall agreement seems to be that you sort of have to vote with your feet,
right,
so to speak. And
I think that's working to a certain degree. I mean, you look at Safeway has really turned around. I know that they have that all in the West Coast, at least. We have Safeway, and they've really changed in that direction. They never used to have anything organic, and now they have quite a bit.
So, but if you can, certainly try and contact any local farmers. Of course, we're all about supporting local businesses as well, which is always better than these big companies. And just start doing a bit of research yourself, and you might be pleasantly surprised, and you'll certainly start enjoying the taste a lot more. And we really think that your health benefits are going to greatly outweigh any price or any inconvenience that the organic food is going to do. So certainly start having a look yourself. There's loads of documentaries out there. Obviously, this is just a sample, and we're really not, massive experts on organic, only what we're doing ourselves here.
Yeah.
And, what we recommend to our clients. But if you have, I've been really impressed with Netflix. I wish I had shares in them now, advertising them. Unfortunately, I don't. But they've really got a good sample of documentaries there on eating local and organic foods and what's going on with the genetically modified food and all the rest of it. But you can also find a few of them on YouTube as well, which is obviously free. So just type in organic documentaries or organic videos, or just organic in YouTube, and they're about an hour and a half long. So so you'll know which ones you need to watch, and it really gives you a good insight. Of course, with everything, it's all about education, just like vision improvement. If you don't know about it, then how can you start improving your eyesight? So start educating yourself a little bit more on organic foods, and see if you start noticing the benefits.
Okay, it's time to head on to Question of the Week. And the question of the week comes from a law student, and we know what that's like already. This person is spending a lot of time reading.
Yeah.
And they wonder about having dry eyes. They've tried everything. Why don't you read it? It's an interesting email.
So it reads, "Hello. I find this video really interesting," and it was a distance-looking video that we have on YouTube.
Which this person should be doing if they're a law student.
Yeah. "I want to ask you, please, if there's any kind of exercises to help the eye to improve when I was diagnosed with dry eyes." This is me how you could be diagnosed with dry eyes.
I know.
"I'm a law student, and it's really annoying when I'm reading, or especially on cloudy days, because I feel a sticky sensation on my eyes all the time. It doesn't matter what I do. I try to open my eyes with my fingers. Maybe matchsticks is probably the best thing. Yeah. I use ophthalmic drops for the eye, but nothing works. Right. Thank you very much for your help and for this video."
So obviously the first thing is this person... Fortunately, they said they were a law student because that's the most obvious thing, is they're spending way too much time looking at close things, which is why they should be doing the distance looking. But it sounds like they are not resting their eyes enough.
Yeah, and it could be different. I guess in the end, it always comes down to priority.
Yeah.
And like our friend, the medical student, she's spending 14 hours a day. But she's starting to work the exercises into her day.
Right.
And I guess it's not necessarily just one. If we were to say maybe 3 major exercises for dry eyes, I suppose the first one is distance looking. But obviously you need to work that in comparison to your time spending reading from close. If you're sitting in a dark, dingy library for 12 hours a day and you did distance looking for 5 minutes, and then you go, oh, these eye exercises are rubbish.
Yeah.
They just don't work. So obviously you need to be realistic about it. Second one, obviously palming.
Yeah.
Really need to rest the eyes because the eyes are closed. You're also allowing the eyes for the natural fluid and all the rest of it, and you're allowing the optic nerve to rest and the cornea to rest and all the rest of it. And then, of course, the peripheral vision exercise, because we're overworking the central vision so much. So by blocking the central vision, waving your hands to the side, you're helping to stimulate the periphery, remind the brain that the peripheral vision is still there and you still need to use it. And I think you'll also find that your blinking will increase.
Yeah, and in blinking in general, that you kind of have to look at dry eyes and say, is it because it's just overwork, overstrain, or is this a person who doesn't blink? And that is another possibility. Is someone who just doesn't blink enough could get dry eyes. It's for obvious reasons, you're leaving the eyes exposed to the air too much.
And to explain it a little bit more, what happens if the reason why we blink is we're spreading the tear film across the eye. Now, if you just leave your eye open, then that tear film dries up and it breaks. And that's sometimes what forces us to blink. That's what sometimes makes our eyes itchy. We feel like we need to rub them. So what happens is we need that tear film to help keep our cornea and our eyes nice and healthy. And it also helps a little bit with refraction. So if we're not blinking regularly, then the eyes become dry and it allows that tear film to dry out. So things like the blinking exercise to try and remind us to blink more.
Right.
And also get that habit back in, especially if you're stressed, we tend to blink less. And then if we're reading, we blink even less than what we did before. Yeah. And then you're just looking at the overall exercises, the palming, distance looking, peripheral vision, anything that's going to help rest the eyes, break up that central vision stare that allows the blinking patterns to come back. Maybe it even breaks our mental pattern of just like me being so focused centrally and trying to get everything done. Then, you know, you'll certainly find that your eyes will start feeling a lot more refreshed. I mean, how many people, when we do our conferences and when we do our lectures, that we get people palming and they go, oh, my eyes are watering, or, you know, their eyes feel more refreshed, or these sort of words sort of denote the fact that there's more liquid there. It sort of feels fresher and all the rest of it. So certainly following some of those exercises are really going to help bring lubrication, I guess, back to the eyes and take those dry eyes away.
Great.
Okay, great. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode on our deciding to go organic. We know it's something a little bit different for us to do, but obviously it's something very important that we feel that everybody knows a little bit more about, and indeed feel free to pass this information on to as many people as possible, as it's certainly something that we need to start thinking about as societies and as nations, and start getting ourselves as healthy as possible so the body can start doing its natural tendencies, which is to heal itself. Now, if you enjoy this information, you could always head over to our website at envisionselfhealing.com, where you will also find some free self-healing programs, and in particular some vision exercises that you can do to help improve your eyesight. You can also get your hands on a free ebook, which is called A Modern Day Guide for Improving Eyesight. And in that, we go through some very basic exercises and some reasons why we're getting such conditions like dry eyes and many other things like macular degeneration and cataracts, and how indeed we can help overcome these and prevent them from happening in the first place. You can also contact both Richard and I on Twitter or on our personal Facebooks. Just head over to the website there and you'll see the addresses. And you can also find us, if you're listening to this on YouTube, then feel free to subscribe to us there, and also check out some of our other videos and also some of our personal blogs that we've got. And if you're listening to this on iTunes, then subscribe there and you'll be able to get a brand new episode that we do every week sent straight to your computer. So, good luck with your eye exercises this week, and also a little bit of investigation into your organic food and your healthy eating, and happy healing.
And have a good week.